There is a myth that if you are a gay man, you don't belong here. You belong in a high-rise in New York City or in a condo in West Hollywood. And for years, I thought if I left the city, I'd be leaving my identity. But look at what the city has become. It's become prohibitively expensive, and it's become hostile. Hostile to ownership, hostile to silence, and hostile to anyone who thinks differently. Today, I want to talk about why the gay Mecca is a trap, and the most masculine thing you can do is leave it all behind. My name is Frank Schneider, my friends call me Fritz, and this is Daddybear America. The city, with all its lights and culture, lures you in. I fell victim to it in 2009. Previously, I had lived in smaller cities in the Midwest, then Chicago, and ultimately I moved to New York. And I've described in the past, when I first was just visiting, I stepped out on Christopher Street. It's the gay, sort of the very gay street, and where all the clubs are and all of the gay culture is there. And I remember coming up off the subway underground. It's the tube for New York City. Anyway, and you come up above ground, and I looked around, and it was nighttime, and the lights were glistening off of the wet street. It had just rained, and there were all of these gay guys and, you know, lesbians, and just everybody was just, it was beautiful. It really worked its magic on me, and I knew at that moment, because I was sort of free, I worked in tech, so I could basically telecommunicate wherever I wanted to be. So I decided to move to New York. And it was also because I had a music career that I was trying to foment and get going. Anyway, so I ended up in New York City. I moved, and literally moved in 30 days. I mean, I dropped everything, and I had an apartment in approximately 30 days. It was whiplash for sure. And the shock was tremendous. New York City looks fun when you get there and visit, and it is so overwhelming. For anybody who hasn't lived there and who maybe even just visited for a period of time, it's so different living there. So if you want to know about that, comment down below. I'll do a whole episode on living in New York. That's not what this is about. The point is that I felt very at home in the city, at least culturally, as a gay man, because the city conveys to you that you do belong there as a gay man, more than virtually anywhere else. I mean, if you want to feel like a fish out of water, go to a farm in Nebraska as a gay man, and then you'll know. I'm sure there's some of you out there right now. So what happened? Well, I lived in the city for a while. I rented. I moved a lot into all the boroughs. I was in Washington Heights, and I was in Brooklyn, and I was in the Upper West Side, and then I was in Chelsea. And it's a beautiful city. It really is. But it is expensive. Like expensive in a way that I think normal people just don't understand. Like, say, $5,000 for a one-bedroom apartment. That's the going rate these days. And so when I was renting, I was basically renting rooms out of other people's apartments. And so it was a share, basically. And so then rent would be like $1,500 for a room. And you're sharing with one or two other people, or three or four if your situation's really bad. So that's the sort of experience in New York. And ultimately, I was still, like, after you get used to living there for a period of time, you realize all the glitter and all the glamour sort of wears off. And now, there's some positives. I had really great friends. I went to some really great events. I met some really great people. I dated. And it's significant people too, like New York Times level people. It's very cool. You know, photographers and therapists. So that's a story for another day too. Anyway, so you do all that. And then you want to own. Well, okay, because owning is actually part of the American dream. To have property, to invest in something and contribute to something that grows in value over time with the value of the country, so that you're invested in the neighborhood, you're invested in the town, the city, the state, and the government, the federal government, because ownership is part of the American dream. It just is. So I wanted to do that, and I remember having this conversation with my mom, and I said, I want to buy something. And she's like, well, how much is that? And I said, I think it's like $500,000. She was like, oh, that's a lot of money. Because it is. $500,000 won't even get you a one-bedroom these days. That's a studio, maybe. That's how crazy things are in New York City. And so now we have a socialist mayor, Mamdani, and I don't want to get dragged down in the politics of socialism, but it doesn't work. And just take a look at Argentina right now with Javier Milei, the president who is a diehard capitalist who is bringing that country back, who just paid off $20 billion in debt to the United States in record time, I might add, using capitalism and austerity. And so it's potentially a beautiful example of how socialism fails and how capitalism succeeds, right encapsulated in about a 2-year, 3-year period. So anyway, back to the storyline. You're not going to be able to buy in New York City. And as gay men, this is our identity. Like, how do I have an identity or a culture if I'm not in the city where it exists? Well, the truth is, you can't. You can rent for a limited amount of time. You can do the rat race. You can pay rent. Or you can have a ridiculous mortgage if you have the capital up front for a down payment, which most of us don't have $200,000 or $300,000 laying around. So it's just going to be a problem buying in the city. So let's talk about some of the solutions. How did I end up in a very small town in the countryside? Okay, so what happened is in 2020, when all hell was breaking loose, Bill had this house here just as basically a capital investment. And we would stay here occasionally during the weekends, basically, but we were mostly in the city because we're both working there and we had an apartment there, and yeah, so we're doing the thing, right? So all hell breaks loose. We come here in 2020, and we both end up spending 100% of our time here. And so we ended up leaving the city. That's what happened. So since then, it's been an incredible adjustment period. First of all, I didn't ever see myself as a small town guy, and I'm still, frankly, getting adjusted to it. But I'll tell you what, it's taken literal years, but I'm becoming accustomed to it and realizing that as much as I love the city, the cost is exorbitant, and it's not that bad out here. And there is culture out here, but you do have to find it. So anyway, back to the pluses and minuses. You're maintaining property. You have to maintain a house. You have to get a plumber and an electrician, and you're doing all your own maintenance. You're going to need a new roof eventually. These are the realities of home ownership. But you know what home ownership is also? It's extremely masculine. It's part of the masculine male identity. And that gets lost in the messaging. And because it's not an option in the city, I think that kind of gets swept away. But ownership, being a part of your town, being the leader of your property and how you hold up and represent your property to others, This is all very masculine, and frankly, ownership is masculine. So ownership of a property and developing an asset, and potentially if you buy in the right place and you're not doing some crazy reno that's going to reduce the value of the property, you're increasing the value of the property over time. And this becomes an asset and then like an annuity or something like that. But this is a real estate asset is technically what it is. But what ownership and property brings is freedom and the space to breathe and the space to do whatever I want. If I want to start painting, or clay sculpting, or, like anything I might actually be interested in, or for example, like having a band and a music career, I could do that out here. I mean, everything's done on the internet these days. And the point is really that as gay men, we've always identified as the city being our identity and our culture. And I think that that has moved on. It isn't really there the same way anymore because the city is so much about money. And that is unfortunate that our identity is tied to something that's so incredibly expensive now. The truth is, it's okay to go out and go to other places, like a small town, and be gay. Like, everybody knows I'm gay here. Everybody knows Bill's my husband, and everybody doesn't care. And I think there's this belief that the Team Red or Team Blue owns the gays. That is no longer true. Scott Bessent, who is the Treasury Secretary who worked the deal with Argentina, is gay in the administration right now. So this idea that like one team is pro-gay or anti-gay, that no longer holds. They aren't coming for you. This is all safe territory now. And sure, there are some places in Louisiana or Arkansas or Oklahoma where, yeah, maybe not. But you know what? I've been to those places. And for the most part, I have to say, nobody cares. So, yes, you can go into some dark, seedy places on the internet, and I see those. Clearly, I'm running on a YouTube channel. And I run into people who are like, say awful things about my sexuality or whatever. I don't care about them. I know in general, the majority of places I go now, nobody cares. And the most I get is when I say my husband, blah, 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 they're like, oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, all right. And then they just move on. And we start talking about whatever we want to talk about. But otherwise, it's a non-issue these days. So yes, you can absolutely move out to the country. And this is a small town, 1,500 people. This is rural. I call this like the hill people who are just like in the like midst of like, we're fogged in and hilled in and like nobody comes here and nobody leaves and it's just kind of spooky, but I'm getting to know people and they know me and they say hi to me and I'm walking my dog and I start to feel like my culture is here as opposed to where it was in the city. And I have gay friends out here too. If I need to fulfill that, we can get together for drinks and that's fun. But I'll tell you what, more and more, I'm just identifying as a regular guy, and I just hang out with regular guys, and I don't need to go out and identify with my other cliquey group people. I can just be with guys and hang out, and that's a lot of fun. So this is my explanation of ownership being a responsibility, being a property owner and being responsible and being a leader in your town, whether it's leading your property and just showing everybody you can do this, and if not as good as, better than most people, that most of us know how to hold a hammer or a screwdriver, and that we can do some of the work ourselves. I've seen it. I've been to my friends' houses. They do their own maintenance for the most part, although hire a proper trained electrician and probably a plumber too. But as far as like small reno or redoing drywall or painting, we can do that stuff. So yeah, absolutely. We are incredibly capable as a group. All right, guys, that is this video. Hopefully it gets welcomed by the algorithm after doing all of that political mumbo jumbo, which we won't talk about ever. But if you want to go now, if you want to know what that's about, then go click on those videos. But whatever, I'm done with that shit. So anyway, you're welcome here, and if you like this material, you like these ideas and these concepts about male, masculinity, a little bit of sexuality here and there, but whether you're gay, bi, or straight, you are welcome here. So click the subscribe button. I'm coming out with 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. Click the like button if you appreciate this. And if you want to become a supporting member, click the join button or join my Patreon. Links in the description, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.